Hi everyone, I'm Rosamel Gaetano, the ninth reporter of Module 4, Group D. In Module 4, our reports cover planning and implementing social marketing. My topic in particular is the importance of audience segmentation in a social marketing context, a very interesting area that I think we can all benefit from learning. So here's a quick overview of what I'll cover in my report. First, we'll define what audience segmentation is and why it matters in social marketing. Then, we'll go over the different ways we can segment audiences, followed by a practical example to make it more concrete. Finally, we'll look at audience research, which is the data and tools we need to segment effectively. So, to start off, what exactly is audience segmentation? In a nutshell, audience segmentation is a very important part of any social marketing campaign. Before you start planning your campaign, you need to ask yourself, who are the people you're speaking to? Always look at it from their perspective. Why is your message important to them, and why would they take even a minute to pay attention to it? To put this into context, let's consider a classic insight from David Ogilvy. According to David Ogilvy, the father of advertising, you do not address your readers as though they were gathered together in a stadium. Pretend you're writing a letter to each of them on behalf of your client. So, a social marketing campaign is not a one size fits all approach. This is exactly why audience segmentation matters. By defining specific audience groups, we can tailor messages that feel personal and relevant to each group. That shift from a mass message to personal relevance is what drives higher engagement and real behavioral change. So, let's dive deeper into this topic and ask, why is audience segmentation so important in the context of social marketing? First, it allows us to tailor messages so they can actually match the needs, motivations, and behaviors of specific groups. Second, it makes campaigns more effective and efficient because resources are focused where they're most likely to make an impact. Segmentation also helps us identify which audiences are most ready or willing to respond, so we can prioritize strategically. It also improves evaluation since we can see how different groups react instead of treating everyone the same. Overall, segmentation strengthens engagement and makes behavior change efforts far more meaningful and effective. There are many approaches and variations for segmentation, but for the sake of this report's brevity, we'll focus on the four main types. We have demographic segmentation, which groups people based on measurable characteristics such as age, gender, income, or education level. Then we have psychographic segmentation, which focuses on attitudes, values, interests, and lifestyles, essentially how people think and what motivates them. Behavioral segmentation looks at actions, such as purchasing habits, media use, or how someone responds to a campaign. And finally, geographical segmentation divides audiences based on location, whether that's country, region, climate, or community context. In practice, the most effective strategies often combine these types to build a deeper and more accurate understanding of the target audience. So let's look at a practical application of segmentation through an anti smoking campaign. So, meet Rochelle. She's 30, a heavy smoker, an office worker, and she commutes about 2 hours every day from Antipolo to Makati. The traffic is horrible, and during her commute, she likes to scroll through Facebook and Instagram. From an audience segmentation perspective, we can break her profile down like this. Demographically, she's a working professional in her early 30s. Psychographically, she values convenience, routine, and digital connection. Behaviorally, she's a heavy smoker and she spends long periods commuting and frequently uses her phone. And geographically, she travels daily between a residential area and a city business district. So, the social marketing goal is to influence her to quit smoking. Looking at her data, how do you think would be the best way to reach her with anti smoking ads? Should we target her with A. Newspaper in the morning, B. Through social media, or C. Through billboards, maybe along EDSA? So I'll give you a few seconds to think. So all of those media are effective, depending, of course, on our target audience. But with a profile like Rochelle's, the most effective choice is to meet her where she already is, and that is through social media, letter B. So, with this kind of segmentation, we can better gauge how to approach our audience. By understanding which channels they use the most, we can tailor the type of messaging that works best: the visuals, the copy, the overall delivery. So, that's the advantage of segmentation. It allows us to deliver the right message to the right person and at the right moment. But before we can segment an audience, we first need to understand them. Segmentation only works when it's based on real data and not assumptions. So the question becomes, how do we gather meaningful insights for our audience in the first place? So there are several simple but powerful ways to gather audience insights. Surveys and questionnaires give us direct feedback about preferences and pain points, combining both numbers and open ended responses. Social media listening let us observe real conversations online, showing what people actually care about and how they feel about certain topics. Website analytics reveal behavioral patterns, such as what the content people engage with and where they lose interest. Competitor analysis helps us understand what similar audiences respond to and where gaps exist. And finally, customer interviews or focus groups provide deeper insight into motivations and decision making, helping us understand not just what people do, but why they do it. Now, let's give a quick overview of my report. So, audience segmentation ensures that our messages reach the right people in a way that resonates with them. It's not enough to speak to everyone. We need to understand behaviors, motivations, and needs. Second, using a combination of demographic, psychographic, behavioral, and geographic insights gives us a fuller picture of who our audience really is. Third, segmentation must be backed by solid research. Surveys, analytics, social listening, interviews, and competitor analysis provides the data we need to make informed decisions. And finally, when done effectively, segmentation doesn't just make our campaigns more efficient, it makes them more relevant, engaging, and impactful, ultimately driving the behavior change we want to see. So, hope you learned something new from my report. And before I close this topic, let's have a short discussion on the following questions. So, so in social marketing, understanding your audience is important to designing messages. So, question number one is, why do you think it's important to understand your audience before sending a message? And number two, would your approach differ for people in rural areas versus cities? So, thank you for watching my report, and I hope you can share your insights to my questions. I look forward to reading and discussing your answers in the forum.